Could start now, as it remains 2 minutes.
Yeah, yes, sir. I think Mr. President said we can start. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Okay. So good afternoon to everybody, and welcome to the first global summit of the Cocoa Farmers Association Islands of Africa under the topic One Voice, One Future Uniting Cocoa Farmers for a Thriving Africa. So I will just present what we will discuss today during this webinar, and after leave the, the place to the president for the opening of this first summit. So we start naturally with the opening by the president. After, we'll go directly with the different intervention of our speakers with the different panels. So we plan to have two panels. The first is about the social economical excuse me, is about the socio-economical of the farmers, and the second is about the resilience of cocoa sector in our country. So, as we are already there, Mr. President, I'll give you the place now so that you could introduce and open the summit. Your microphone is you are on mute, President.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Hello? Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's fine now. It's fine, yeah.
Thank you very much. Let me first and foremost appreciate God Almighty for today. Secretary, kudos to your efforts. Abuyola Doso for doing a very good job for the farmers family in Africa. Let me commend your good effort and the entire team that has made this opportunity, this maiden webinar to come to all our board members, our advisors, and everybody that have done well. Thank you very much. And every participant that has also set aside time, resources to be a partaker. I think we will all be proud of a narrative that will ginger and change the economic and livelihood of our farmers and make African cocoa economy sustainable. This is the brevity of my speech, ladies and gentlemen. Opening speech delivered by the President and Global Coordinator of the Cocoa Farmer Alliance Association of Africa, COFAAA Adeola Adegoke, at the maiden global webinar of the association, TAG, One Future, One Voice for a Thriving, United Cocoa Farmers for a Thriving Africa. This is on the 15th March 2025 by 4 p.m. Greenwich time, London time. It is my pleasure to give the opening speech at this maiden global webinar put in place by COFAAA to promote and sustain African leadership in the global cocoa economy through a united voice of the smallholder cocoa farmers of Africa, increase productions and productivity through sustainable practices and enhanced collaborations among African cocoa stakeholders. First and foremost, I need to appreciate Almighty God for giving us this opportunity to be alive, to participate in today's webinar. And my distinguished global COFAAA board members for their confidence reposed in me to lead this noble association. No doubt, your commitment, contributions, and sacrifice so far has started to be yielding fruit through this Maiden Global COFAAA webinar put in place to solve the socio-economic issues around our cocoa ecosystem as it affects the livelihood of our cocoa farmers and its impact on global cocoa economy. I do know that posterity will be kind to you all in the future for your great contributions to the African cocoa sustainability and empowerment of our smallholder cocoa farmers in Africa. I would like to appreciate the global cocoa institutions, cocoa producing countries' governments, partners and stakeholders, e.g., International Cocoa Organization, ICCO, World Cocoa Foundations, WCF, Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana Cocoa Initiatives, CIGHCI, Conseil du Café Cacao, CCC, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana Cocoa Board, Ghana, National Cocoa and Coffee Board, Cameroon, National Cocoa Management Committee, Nigeria, etc., because we cannot be mentioning some of these institutions so that we can allow you to do justice to this topic. For the good work done so far to support our government, to support our cocoa farmers and maintain Africa cocoa production advantage, regardless of the challenges our cocoa ecosystem are currently going through due to climate change. We have seen what has happened in our cocoa productions quota that we are battling with due to some this issue of climate. Good policy framework and strategic collaboration have been achieved by many of these cocoa producing countries, governments, and institutions in Africa to support and maintain African leadership in cocoa productions, which is at 70% from the world cocoa productions. Kudos to the following countries for maintaining the giant strides in cocoa production in Africa: Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Cameroon, Nigeria, Uganda, Burkina Faso, Liberia, DR Congo, Togo, Kenya, and etc. that we cannot continue to mention. COFAAA is a distinguished Pan-African membership organization that unite cocoa farmers in a collaborative effort to tackle the most pressing challenges facing the cocoa industry. Our mission is to champion sustainable farming practices, empower farmers, and ensure the long-term viability of the global cocoa ecosystem. As you are well aware, African cocoa industry is not only a key economic driver, but also a symbol of our agricultural strength and heritage. Despite Africa's significant contributions of over 70% of global cocoa productions, our farmers continue to grapple with economic disparity and systemic challenges that undermine their prosperity. The global chocolate industry, valued at over $120 billion annually, stands on the foundation of African cocoa ecosystem. However, the economic benefits remain disproportionately distributed, leaving African cocoa farmers vulnerable to poverty, price volatility, and exploitative trading practices. This is what His Excellency Alex has been doing to make sure that the livelihood is better. COFAAA is dedicated to reversing this trend by advancing economic justice, amplifying the voice of cocoa farmers, and driving sustainable innovations that enhance the well-being of the farmers and their communities. In collaboration with our global cocoa institutions, partners, and cocoa origin countries, governments working assiduously to improve the livelihood of the cocoa farmers in Africa. These institutions have been working, no doubt about that, and that is why we still maintain 70%. The way forward for us is to continue to increase Africa cocoa production, share, and local processing with consumptions to about 4 million metric tons, representing 90% of the global cocoa production through better productivity per hectare This is exactly what we are thinking, that between 800 kg to 1,000 kilograms is exactly what we think should happen. Sustainable practices, e.g., cocoa agroforestry intensifications, cocoa ecosystem management, traceability, good processing techniques to achieve good flavor, premium, and smart climate and soil management practices with youth inclusiveness. This is about sustainability. Whatever we are doing, if the youth are not there, it's as if we are not just getting it right. I wish all participants well, as I believe that your contributions will surely build a resilient African cocoa economy through a farmer's prosperity and sustainable practices. Thank you. Gentlemen, I appreciate you. I welcome you, and I declare this webinar open. Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Mr. Secretary.
Yeah. Yes, I've declared it open now. What about the secretary?
He's trying to get his mic open.
Okay.
Let me make sure he's okay. Okay. Mr. Secretary, are you okay? You are unmuted
Okay,
now.
I'm okay now because
Excellent.
they were saying that I can't without your authorization. So thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, everybody. Now people are getting connected. So this COFAAA initiative is of great significance, which is why the different stakeholders of cocoa value chain have made every effort to be present this Saturday. And now we have to introduce one of the strategic institution of the cocoa sector in Africa, and I could say in the whole world, as is the representation of the two major countries that produced more than the half of the whole cocoa production. So I want now to introduce um, Mrs. Tawiya Agiako Kwatning. She is a seasonal development practitioner with more than 20 years of in diverse experience across the private public sector and also GNOs across Africa. She is a technical lead of the Côte d'Ivoire Ghana Cocoa Initiative, and she also serves as deputy of the executive secretary, Mr. Alex Asanvo. And she previously worked with different companies like Hershey, which is a global confectionery leader, as the West Africa Sustainable Sourcing Representative. She also involved in the different sector like education and women change makers for education, which is a non-profit organization. So today she is with us to represent Mr. Alex Asanvo and the Côte d'Ivoire Ghana Cocoa Initiative. So now I'm pleased to give you the microphone. I will say it like this, so that you could make your keynote address now.
Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary, Mr. President, and everybody gathered here this afternoon. It's indeed a pleasure and an honor to be with you this afternoon at this maiden event. A wonderful event it is indeed, bringing together so many different stakeholders, farmers, industry partners, researchers, policymakers, and all of us coming together to have this summit today. I really want to thank the Cocoa Farmers Alliance Association of Africa under the very able leadership of Comrade, I just call him Comrade Adiola, and his wonderful team for the kind invitation to us at the Côte d'Ivoire Ghana Cocoa Initiative and to our Executive Secretary, His Excellency Alex Asamvo, to give this keynote address during this online summit today. Monsieur Asamvo does send his deepest regrets that he wasn't able to join us this afternoon, but he did ask me to share a few words on his behalf. So permit me to go ahead and share some words with you. So today we've all come together with a shared commitment, indeed, to a cause that is not just essential to our economies in Africa, but is crucial to the well-being of millions of smallholder farmers and their families. And this is the pursuit of sustainable livelihoods in the cocoa sector. As Comrade has rightly indicated already, for us in Africa, cocoa is more than just a commodity. It is the lifeblood of our communities and indeed the heritage of our ancestors. And we know that Africa is the heartbeat of the global cocoa supply chain. As we've indicated, we produce over 70% of the world's cocoa beans, with our cocoa farmers are forming the backbone of it all. Yet we see that despite this vital role that we play within the supply chain, too many of our farmers continue to live in poverty. They continue to face environmental challenges, and they continue to struggle with various social inequities. So my Executive Secretary, Monsieur Asamvo, has highlighted in numerous engagements over the past few years that we are clearly at a crossroads in the cocoa sector. And indeed, this is more evident today than ever before. We often hear people talk about protecting people and protecting the planet, and this is what everybody wants. But it has become more evident that for cocoa to be truly sustainable, then it must make a difference in the livelihoods and incomes of smallholder farmers. We can't just talk about protecting the people and protecting the planet without driving change in the livelihoods and incomes of smallholder cocoa farmers. And so a transformation of the cocoa economy and the development of mechanisms in the cocoa market system must all align or realign the sector's interests with the overarching goal of providing decent income for cocoa farmers. And all of us need to work to ensure the creation of outcomes that give us mutual benefits across the supply chain, mutual benefits across the supply chain. So today I'll just share a few words on the vision for achieving sustainable livelihoods for cocoa farmers in Africa. And to realize this vision, we have often stressed at the Côte d'Ivoire Ghana Cocoa Initiative, and indeed like many others who I'm sure are sitting around the platform today, that we must address all three pillars of sustainability: economic sustainability, social sustainability, and environmental sustainability. These pillars are interconnected and they are indispensable if we want to transform the sector and if we want to empower farmers in the cocoa sector. So I'll start with economic sustainability. First and foremost, economic sustainability means that we are securing a fairer share of the value generated along the cocoa value chain and ensuring a living and decent income for our cocoa farmers. It is truly unacceptable that those who are toiling tirelessly to produce the world's finest cocoa beans are continuing to live on the margins. And to address this, there are several things that need to happen, and some of which we've started working on. We need to ensure fair pricing mechanisms. So the global cocoa market must reflect the true value of the labor that cocoa farmers put in. There's the need to advocate for fair trade practices and transparent pricing mechanisms that look at not just the production cost, but also decent living standards and profitability. We need to move into an era where cocoa farming becomes a profitable and desirable economic venture for people to enter into. Indeed, my organization, the Côte d'Ivoire Ghana Cocoa Initiative, was birthed just a few years ago out of the commitment of our two presidents, the presidents of the two leading countries for cocoa production in the world, to address the dire situation at that time and to achieve remunerative prices and improve the livelihoods of cocoa farmers in our two countries. We have started this work and we must continue to work together to develop and implement fairer and more transparent pricing mechanisms. We must also work together to build our own capacity upon this continent, our own capacity to better understand the workings of the cocoa markets and the financial systems, and to strengthen structures that will enable us to enhance our bargaining power. Now, another key point to ensure that we achieve economic sustainability is the area of value addition and local processing. Instead of exporting raw cocoa beans alone, we need to invest more in local processing and adding value here at home. By producing semi-finished and finished products, we'll be able to capture more value and invest more in our local communities and economies. Already between our two countries of Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana, I just give us an example for us to see, we have significant local processing capacity in the two countries. Côte d'Ivoire is currently on its way to achieving 50% of processing domestically, processing of cocoa beans domestically. Ghana has already achieved about 25 to 30% of local processing. But all these efforts need to be deepened, and we need to expand local processing on the continent in many other countries to ensure that we are adding value and keeping or maintaining that value within our economies. There's also the need for us to establish stronger linkages to both local and international markets, that is, deepening our market access, whilst also diversifying our market access to build on the value addition opportunities that I've mentioned. We need to strengthen regional trade on the continent of Africa. We have a fine policy instrument which is being implemented now, the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. We can use this to drive cocoa as a strategic commodity on the continent, deepening regional trade across countries within Africa, whilst also developing new markets in other regions of the world, such as in Asia, in the Middle East, and others. Now, let me talk a little bit about environmental sustainability. Because when we look at environmental sustainability, in Africa, our land and natural resources are our greatest assets. But these are currently under threat from climate change, deforestation, and soil degradation, amongst other problems. And sustainable livelihoods depends on us having sustainable landscapes. So there's a critical need for us to really address the impacts of climate change on our continent and on cocoa production in particular. Building resilience to climate change is essential. And I know we're going to talk more about this in this event very soon. This needs to include training on drought-resistant varieties which many of our researchers have worked on for many years and have been testing and trialing on the continent. And we need to encourage more diversified cropping systems that can help to mitigate the challenges that we are facing from climate change. For Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire, we currently are working together to bring our researchers together on this topic, as well as on the topic of tackling diseases such as the cocoa swollen shoot virus disease, which is really affecting cocoa production within the region. Another key point under achieving environmental sustainability is the promotion of climate-smart agriculture. It's essential that we encourage and implement practices that can enhance productivity whilst reducing environmental harm. Some of these include agroforestry and shade-grown cocoa, which I think in several of our countries, we've seen many pilots being done. We've seen many farmers beginning to adopt some of these practices. But we also need to look at things around modern irrigation systems, organic fertilizers, integrated pest management, which can all help to improve yields whilst minimizing environmental impact. Now, the third pillar of sustainability is the social pillar, which really focuses a lot on empowering communities and ensuring the rights of communities, ensuring that we have vibrant, empowered communities to be able to drive the sector forward. One of the key things here that I will want to highlight is the strengthening of farmer cooperatives. So at the Côte d'Ivoire Ghana Cocoa Initiative, we firmly believe that strong farmer cooperatives are essential for driving positive change within the cocoa sector. Indeed, our institution was founded on the principle that collaboration between the two largest cocoa producing nations could create a united front capable of shaping the global cocoa agenda and securing better outcomes for our farmers. And we currently have expanded the membership to include other African countries who are interested in joining this initiative. Likewise, we see that solidarity amongst farmers strengthens their bargaining power and enables them to advocate more effectively for fair practices and better policies. In Ghana, just a couple of days ago in Ghana, in Kumasi to be specific, there was the launch of the Ghana Cooperative Cocoa Farmers and Marketing Association. Today, we see the Maiden Summit of the Cocoa Farmers Alliance Association of Africa. And in the past, we've had a lot of work ongoing with the civil society platforms, which include many farmer organizations, civil society platforms for cocoa in both Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana. All these organizations and platforms are testament to the importance of farmers coming together and working together with other stakeholders to drive change within the sector. I cannot speak about cocoa communities without mentioning women. Women play a vital role in cocoa production, yet they are often overlooked and often have limited access to resources. And so in our quest to achieve sustainable livelihoods in the cocoa sector, we really need to focus on promoting equal opportunities and recognizing the invaluable contributions of women, not just in cocoa production, but also all along the cocoa value chain. We must also continue to deepen our efforts to eliminate child labor in the cocoa sector, and in particular on the continent, and to ensure that our children have access to quality education, relevant education, and they have the necessary community support to have thriving childhoods and brighter futures. And so in all of this, achieving sustainable livelihoods is not and cannot just be the responsibility of the cocoa farmers alone. We all have a role to play, from the governments to the industry players, to non-governmental organizations, financial institutions, as well as the farmer associations. We all need to come together in a spirit of partnership and accountability. We need coordinated efforts that enable us to share knowledge, that enable us to increase transparency and credibility, that enable us to pool resources and develop innovative solutions that can address the needs of farmers directly. We also need to embrace innovation and technology. This is from mobile platforms that provide training and information to farmers. We see several of these on the continent already, to data-driven approaches that ensure traceability of our cocoa supply chains, and also enable us to predict market trends and climate challenges. Indeed, technology can be a game changer in transforming the cocoa sector. In conclusion, I want to say that achieving sustainable livelihoods for Africa's cocoa farmers really requires an unwavering support and commitment to economic, environmental, and social justice. We can't afford to be passive participants in the global cocoa value chain that does not serve our interests. We must advocate, we must innovate, and we must collaborate to secure our future. To transform the cocoa sector in Africa, we must place farmers at the center of every decision and policy. Our efforts will be successful only if we ensure that cocoa farming is a source of pride, but also a source of prosperity for those who dedicate their lives to it. So let's continue to work together, committed to this shared vision and committed to a future where our cocoa farmers in Africa can live with dignity, security, and with hope. So I want to thank the Alliance once again for inviting us to be part of this awesome event. We are looking forward to the continued panels and the detailed discussions. We commit to this cause and we are always ready to support. We look forward to work together. I believe that we can and we will build a brighter and more sustainable future for all cocoa farmers in Africa. So thank you very much, and I look forward to the continued discussions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Tawia Ajiako Kwating. I hope this is the correct pronunciation of your name. Okay. Thank you very much.
It's good. It's okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. So now, what I want to do is like a kind of resume of this wonderful keynote. So we could keep in our mind that the Côte d'Ivoire Ghana initiative is now focusing on the way to improve cocoa farmers' livelihoods by fighting for policies that could be improve the fair pricing and also strengthening the value chain. Also, there is some initiative to add some of those countries which are cocoa farmers into the initiative in order to be more stronger. And also, there is a great priority of the Côte d'Ivoire Ghana initiative on the exportation of our raw materials, but after processing of them. So we want now to have more value of our product with the local processing for having more value to the different products. And at the last point, we could keep in our mind that the strategy, technical production in order to be resilient from global warming is also a key point. Yes. Okay. So now, hello?
Yeah, continue.
Okay. Okay, so now we have to start with the first panel, which topic is how to improve the income of farmers, socio-economical impact of cocoa for our brave farmers. Before I will make a brief presentation or introduction of the different speakers that we will have. I hope they are all present now. So the first one is for the panel number one. The panel is the socio-economic impact of cocoa on farming communities. So as first speaker, we have Mr. Kwame Osei. Mr. Kwame Osei is a goal-oriented forestry and agriculture expert with more than 15 years of experience, skilled in strategy.
Are you sure it's there? Is it there first? Is it there? Before you read any resume, be sure that the person is there.
I don't see him here.
That is it. So you don't need to get anybody that is there. You read their resume. That is what I mean about.
Okay. So secondly, we have Mr. AP Promise, experienced agri-tech CEO, skilled in strategy, supply chain, and profitability, led revenue growth, cost cutting, and large-scale project execution in the Africa cocoa production region. We have the eminent Dr. Ayobami, which is a great specialist of business development and global partnership. He is also representing Royal African projects and fostering equitable international collaboration. He's based in UK and will be part of this panel. We have Mr. Prince Justin. Mr. Ntidibe, Mr. Prince
Yes,
Justin.
he's
Okay.
here. He's here.
Prince Justin
Yeah.
is the president of Union Farms of Africa. Is based in Cameroon, and the Union Farms of Africa aims to ensure food security, economic growth, and social empowerment through climate-smart agriculture. We have also Dr. Patrick Adebola, the executive director of CREIN in Nigeria. So is leading agricultural innovation and food security in sub-Saharan Africa for many years now. He also got expertise in budget management, project coordination, and international collaboration for crops sustainability. We have Mr. Ajayi Olotubaba from Nigeria too. So director of cocoa at Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. And last but not least, Mr. Muhammad Abubakar Fuhad, the managing head of at Ghana Cocoa Marketing Company, specialized in trade cocoa market analysis and ESG. So all those experts will be with us during around 30 minutes. And the question will come, and I will address directly the question to some of them. They will answers, and after we will open with the support of Mr. Ntidibe a time for having the questions. So you could ask your question directly in the chat, and Mr. Ntidibe will support us to choose some question that we will address to our speakers. So if you are good with this, we could go directly with the first questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So as remind, the topic of the first panel is socio-economic impact of cocoa on farming communities. So the first question I want to ask is, how has the cocoa sector transformed the social and economic dynamics of rural communities? And this will be for Dr. Ayobami and Mr. Epi Promas.
Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for the opportunity for me to talk on the strengthening of financial inclusion and access to credit for smallholder farmers in Africa. From the small case study that I'm coming up is in Cameroon, where I'm currently based. And we see that most of the big players in the cocoa value chain, they present only the marketplace and leave the rest of the hard work to the smallholder farmers. And this has made the farmers very vulnerable, and they don't have any other way to go because banks are not ready to give them soft loans because the banks don't have they don't have data for the smallholder farmers. And no insurance facilities. The prices are not the best because there's a long chain of middlemen along the value chain, and at each level of the value chain, those middlemen make their gains at the end of it. And that is why we saw it to come with the blockchain system where transparency could be brought in so that farmers can get better prices for their cocoa. So we can only achieve all this through the ICT development by using blockchain and other smart ways to see that we incorporate all our smallholder farmers in one system where we can trace their cocoa and also trace payments of their cocoa.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Epipromas. But Dr. Ayobami,
Yes.
for you, because Epipromise discussed topic related to blockchain, so is more likely close to technology in the cocoa sector. But for the dynamic of rural communities, how cocoa farming has really changed the local economies, employment, and overall the social structure. If you can give us idea of this so that we could appreciate for those who don't know the sector, like the impact on the farming communities where the farmers are living.
I think Dr. Yamami, I think he dropped off. Maybe he's having network issues.
Okay.
So maybe we
He
can
said,
yeah,
the laptop just got shut down.
yes. So we can
I think-
continue with the next panelist.
Yeah.
Something so that we will have become a total break of development. And that development is what the man wants to continue to do. Now, for the other ones who are not to be set.
Okay, we could move forward with the other question we prepared, because the aim of this one is to appreciate the economic transformation and income stability into our farming communities in our different countries. So for Mr. Olutu Baba and Mr. Justin, what mechanism contribute to job creation in the cocoa value chain? If we want, for example, to go above the production, so what are the mechanisms which contribute to create job? For Mr. Justin and Mr. Alotubaba.
Thank you
very
for
much. Okay, Mr. Aluti, you go first. Okay, that's fine. You can go first.
Who is going first? Mr.
He can
Aluto
go
Baba,
ahead. He can go ahead. He can go ahead once it started.
No, he asked you to go ahead.
It's important to know that job creation within the smallholder farmer community in Nigeria is very, very important, depending on how the government is able to support the smallholder farmers. Within the farming community in Nigeria, cocoa farmers have access to finance, such as other agro inputs are given to farmers in a subsidized means through the government agencies. And then we have programs such as the Anchor Borrowers program of the federal government, which was in the past, whereby farmers within their cooperatives or clusters are given agro inputs, and this contributes greatly to their income generation and also employment opportunities within the smallholder cocoa farming communities. Though the government cannot shoulder all the responsibilities alone, the private sector players in Nigeria also, we have international companies operating within Nigeria, exporters of cocoa beans in Nigeria, which try as much as possible within their corporate social responsibility to ensure that the livelihood and the income of cocoa farmers, smallholder cocoa farmers in Nigeria is enhanced. It's important to know that poverty reduction is essential to ensure that our farmers have access to healthcare, education, and what they need to enhance their socio-economic capacity. We have various farming communities, and the government within its capacity tries as much as possible to make sure they have access to the support that is needed through finance and other means. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ajayi. Now, we want to have the same, but from another country, Cameroon, with Mr. Prince Justin.
Thank you very much. Greetings to everybody. Yes, I think with Cameroon value chain, we must say that the cocoa sector has actually created a good number of jobs in the past 10 years. I would look at one of the projects that we were heavily involved in. You call it the Farmers Business School. This project was there to train our farmers on how to move from a traditional farmer to an agribusiness person. That means we were not only focusing just to get them farm cocoa beans and sell it as it has happened in the past 40 years. In the Farmers Business School, we're trying to advise them that there is a need to increase your revenues by adding another revenue streams into the kind of things that you are doing. So you will find in our markets now a lot of artisanal things made from cocoa, like cocoa tea that Mr. Ipeo is in the call that their cooperative is doing. You have some of them doing chocolates. You have a lot of derivatives that farmers are already producing from their own cocoa, not only thinking of exporting like they used to export in the past. That has created a lot of small jobs, and you will see now in Cameroon the growth of small farmers cooperative. If you check with our registry, the number of cooperatives that are created, they are gradually increasing because farmers are now aware that they can add value artisanally. They can use their small factories to transform some of the things that they are producing. Another thing that has greatly, really created a lot of jobs in our sector nowadays, the market has been liberated in such a way that autonomous cooperatives can now organize and export their own cocoa, as compared to the past where it was only the government through the farmers' houses that they could buy the cocoa beans and export. But now you see individuals involved in buying and shipping of cocoa, and this is really creating a good number of jobs. Early last year, you agree with me that Cameroon cocoa price moved from 1,700 francs a kilogram to about 5,000 francs. And that was really a motivation because a lot of young people has gone to farming. In one of the locations where we're farming, I visited the area that initially used to be maize farms, but so many young people are now going to convert those maize fields into cocoa fields. So they are becoming now entrepreneurs because they are registering their own cooperative societies, they are planting their own cocoa, they are connecting with the international markets, and some of them are now thinking of how to become autonomous, even going as far as seeing how to produce their own biofertilizers that they could use in these fields. So I think those are some of the issues that are happening in Cameroon that are actually creating a good number of jobs. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ajayi and Mr. Prince, for your brilliant answers. So you could say that according to what you said and my notes, that we have the farmers' business schools, which trains farmers on how to diversify their income by producing cocoa-based products like cocoa tea and chocolate, while the input credit system helps to stabilize production and assure fixed incomes for cocoa farmers, as was the case in Nigeria. So now, you also mentioned the market, and I want to have the opinion of Mr. Adebola and Mr. Osei on how the price fluctuation on the world market affect the planning and financial stability of farmers, like the impact of the global market volatility on farmers' incomes, and what could be a strategic solutions to face this. For Mr. Osei and Mr. Adebola.
It's so saying, yeah.
I don't think Mr. Say is here. You have Mr. Fraud and Dr. Ayebami,
Dr.
Mr.
Ayobami is back.
Ajayi, yes, and Mr. Prince
Yeah.
Johnson and Mr. Epic.
Welcome back, Dr. Ayobami.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry, my system just went off as I was
Okay.
planning to make my remark or responding to your question on the
Yeah.
socioeconomic impact of cocoa on the
No problem.
communities.
We
Sorry
got
about
point
that.
of this promise. But as now you are here, maybe this question could be yours. How do price fluctuations on the world market affect the stability of incomes for our farmers?
I think the question you ask, let me once again borrow an inspiration from the Mr. President and also from Mrs. Tawai Kwarteng for their beautiful presentation. And of course, Mrs. Kwarteng reflected the pricing and the challenging situation of the pricing in Africa, especially from the point of view or from the viewpoint of the cocoa farmer. And of course, it's quite very important that this should be a very serious conversation, continental-wise, whereby we really need to have a strong representation for the cocoa farmer. Myself, as a grandson of cocoa farmer, it's quite very important understanding the fact that it's been over the years, over decades, it's been a challenging pathway, whereby when my grandfather wanted to sell cocoa, and you find a lot of, you can't go directly into the markets, for the sale. He has to find the middlemen who are buying directly from him. And of course, he made his money. He was worthy in his own way, in his own right, in his community. But beyond that, the international market dictates what the price of cocoa look like. My little research, and I was telling President recently, as of 2015, the cocoa development, the cocoa international cocoa organization headquarters was here in London, was based in London, whereby the policy, the prices, diplomatic, the bureaucratic engagement about cocoa was being determined, in London, for the farmers across the continent of Africa. Understand the fact that Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Cameroon, they produce 70% of the cocoa that actually produce the chocolate of $120 billion in economy that actually goes into the pocket of the Western society. And I think it's important that cocoa farmers have this representation, which the COFAAA is actually giving. It's a precarious situation right now across the continent of Africa because it's actually a dim situation for cocoa farmers. They can't take their commodities to the market on their own because they have to rely on the buyers, and the buyers are these middlemen. Some of them who actually have the funding, they have the resources, they have the money, and they buy it as to how they want to buy it, because most of the cocoa farmers, especially with their various challenges, the community challenges, household challenges, challenges of education, challenges of healthcare, they have to just sell their commodities as at the price that's been placing across to them. And I think what we need to do in terms of what Mrs. Kwarteng actually mentioned, actually resonated well with me, is the fact that African continental free trade can play a major role in this regard, standing upright, for the cocoa farmer, so that the cocoa farmer can stand on the shoulder of the African continental free trade and the policies that Africa can actually create to support the farmers and the farmers' prosperity. It's about their prosperity that also contributes to national economic prosperity across different countries in Africa where the cocoa is being produced. I think we really need to look at the policy, we need to look at the market space, and we need to actually have Africa home policy development that support the international market, that support the market that actually the cocoa farmer can go to and see that the product they're selling in the market, it reflects the labor they actually, they've given to that commodity.
Okay, brilliant. As every day when Mr. Dr. Ayobami says something about the cocoa. Thank you very much, Dr. Ayobami. For me, what I get for what you said is just like the price fluctuation on the global market, complicating the ability of our farmers to plan for the future and maintain them in the situation which is not affordable for them. But building on this, how do the cooperatives and certifications, such as Fair Trade or Rainforest Alliance, influence incomes and distribution and enhance the living condition of farmers? Maybe Mr. Prince could give an answer to this.
I lost you again, please. Can you retake it, please?
Yeah, I mean, what impact do the cooperatives and certifications like Rainforest Alliance, UTZ, the Fair Trade, and the Organic, etc., how the impact on income distribution and improving farmers' living conditions?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think, like Dr. Ayubami rightly said, there is a lot of positive impact as well as there is a lot of negative impact. It's a two-sided coin. I must say it, because just of recent in Cameroon, I think in Africa generally, the EU have said if cocoa do not meet certain standards with certifications, those cocoa beans are not supposed to be sold into the EU market. And in Cameroon, for example, it has caused a huge market drift because you can now see a lot of cocoa farmers, they prefer to give their cocoas to small buyers who may not necessarily demand for those standards. Like initially, we used to know that cocoa moves between Douala to go out of Cameroon. But in the recent years, most of the cocoa has been moving towards Nigeria. Because most of the people who are buying the cocoa in Nigeria, they are consuming it within Nigeria. They do not need to check if it meets those standards. As opposed to those who will be buying the same cocoa to take to Europe, you need to find out if this cocoa is going to meet those standards. And the question we are asking now as Africa, as COFAAs, as cocoa farmers, are we going to just sit and watch Global Gap, the European Union, the ANOS, the kind of certifications you can think about, which we do not have our own, keep telling us if our cocoa is qualified to go to which market or not? And to me, I think there is really a need for us as COFAAs, because when you read the creation of a cooperative society, I did a lot of studies around cooperative society. It said it is an autonomous organization that can impose what it wants to do in the government of that country where they find themselves. That means as cooperative society, they can even go as far as having their own laboratory that could certify their product and tell the world that this product is good for consumption. They are not supposed to wait for another country to tell them this product is good for certification. And you will bear with me, how are those certifications happening? They will give you a few questionnaires. If you meet the standard of those questionnaires, you pay a fee and you get the certification. To me, they are not honest certifications because they are just pieces of papers. And now, what makes them look so strong is because they use these papers just to be able to regularize the prices. Just to be able to tell you that if you do not have this paper, you cannot ship your cocoa to Europe. But then we don't want to ship cocoa beans. We want to transform our cocoa to tea that our children could drink it. I am happy that in Nigeria, people could buy cocoa like small packs of 50 naira, 20 naira. That is what I want to see in the whole of Africa. We should be able to look at how do we as Africans be able to have our own certification bodies that will take charge of this. And those bodies should be owned by the cooperatives themselves who are producing the cocoa. You can't have our farmers producing cocoa, and then there are some experts sitting somewhere in UK, in Washington, and they are determining which quality of cocoa goes to which market. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Prince. Now for Mr. Fuad Abubakar. Sometimes the expert says that it's possible to with the development of the gender approach, it's possible to help this regard. What are the most effective initiatives in this area that Mr. Abubakar can share with us? And as Mr. Prince said, there is also a lack sometimes of convenience between what farmers need and what are into the these different certifications. So for the both, is there any successful initiative that Mr. Abubakar will share with us in the cocoa sector, or some other experience that could be related?
All right, thanks so much, Mr. Deso. If I can say that. Okay, thanks for having me, and it's a pleasure being part of this summit again. I'll start maybe from just give an insight from Ghana from the first question on how cocoa farming has transformed lives. I mean, for Ghana, the transformation is beyond just the rural community. Most investments in big cities in Ghana were the seeds of cocoa farmers. Sorry, I've got the 4 kids at home, so they will definitely intrude one way or the other. Sorry for that. Yeah, so cocoa impacts a lot of lives in Ghana. Beyond farmers, there are key stakeholders within the marketing, within people who just provide casual labor for cocoa farmers. The whole banking sector in Ghana is heavily dependent on the cocoa sector. So in terms of cocoa's impact in transforming life, it just goes beyond what happens within the production level. But most importantly, to your question about certification, it is important to highlight that no matter how the level of premiums that certification pays, be it Rainforest Alliance, be it Fair Trade, be it organic certification, that constitutes less than 5% of the price of cocoa. Okay, so if the price of cocoa, as Mr. Prince mentioned, in Cameroon is 5,000 CFA per kilo, or let's contextualize it in USD, let's say $4,000 or 5,000 USD per ton. What level of premiums are paid for Rainforest Alliance, organic certification, or fair trade? That is quite insignificant. So the most important thing is, irrespective of how we package or how certified farmers become, the most important thing has to do with the yield levels that farmers get. We must admit as West African farmers that our farmers are not efficient in their production methods, and they have to professionalize. So that is something that we need to prioritize. At the moment, that seems like a challenge, but that is also an opportunity. And as Mr. President mentioned in his opening remarks, if you have West African farmers producing just about 500 kilograms per hectare, whereas their peers in Latin America are doing 1,500, 2,000 kilograms per hectare. I have seen an Ecuadorian farmer doing 2,000 kilograms per hectare. What it tells West African farmers that there is an opportunity to also jump to that level. And that implies tripling yield levels. Tripling yield levels mean that the same parcel of land that the farmer has, where he was previously doing 500 kilograms per hectare, or let's say in output terms, he's doing, say, 1 ton for his given farm. Now, at that same price of $3,000 or $4,000 per ton, he's able to do 2 tons or 3 tons within that same land. Directly, his incomes have doubled or tripled. So that is something that we should be focusing on at the farm gate level. How do we professionalize our farming? They have to be resilient, they have to be adaptive in how they use weather information, how they apply chemicals, and how do they professionalize them in general. Secondly, as industry players, we must admit that our cocoa structure within West Africa was not something that we created. This was a colonial structure that has been put in place years ago. We do production, others consume. Until we build domestic consumption within the region, it's going to be a challenge. The person who buys always has a strong influence in how much he pays. So this is something that we need to work at. Again, anybody who is buying your product also has, if you walk into a shop to buy a product, you have the right to say that, okay, I want this quality of product. So it's not about an antagonistic approach between us and the demand market. No, we need to look at, okay, we have something to sell. Someone has something to buy. How can we match the demands of these consumers, while also developing our own domestic or regional consumption capabilities? Then thirdly, has to do with, as governments, at state agencies, how do we transform the sector so that we are not solely dependent on the futures market? And that is why the point that Tevia made is very, very important. Value addition. Value addition. I still can't understand why a country like Nigeria with a huge population, huge entrepreneurial spirits, there are no chocolate factories in Nigeria. There are very few cocoa processing factories in Nigeria. It is unimaginable. We can put blame on the Westerners for how long we can, but there are some things that are within our control. Countries like Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, they import chocolate products from Europe. How do we transform that? So we need to target our very influential investors, both within our countries and within the diaspora. We had an event yesterday, the Ghana Cocoa Business Breakfast in London, and the diasporan community were there. They were so amazed at the investment opportunities into cocoa, especially within West Africa. And that is something we need to anchor on. How do we attract them? Most of Nigerian, Ghanaian, West African diaspora have millions of pounds and dollars stuck in Western bank accounts. They don't know where to put that money. We need to be very appealing. We need to make sure that we professionalize farming so that they know that, okay, even if I'm seated in London, in New York, in Paris, I can invest within the cocoa sector in Africa. So for me, these are my key points. Premiums are just a peanut. And that is why premiums, in all studies that have been done, certification hasn't transformed the lives of farmers. The best bet, I would say, has done also improve on their information and their knowledge of cocoa farming. So those will be my my remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fuad. I think now we could open the interactive session with the participants. So as is planned to have a second panel focused on the resilience of cocoa sector to face global warming. We will take three questions, and our speakers will satisfy with answer. And after this, we'll conclude the first panel, and open the second one. So, Mr. NCDB, please, if you could, I don't know if people ask question in the chat. If there is some which are relevant, we could keep them and ask to the the speakers to give answer, or directly if someone could just raise his hand and we let him ask directly to the to the speakers. But we take three as we don't have so many time again. Mr. Ayesola, Oyesola, excuse me. Yes, please. You are mute. Mr. Oyesola, your microphone
Yeah,
is mute.
thank you. The host, I think thank you for this opportunity to speak. Or before now, for proper modification, moderation, I think the host should bear in mind of maybe being concentrating. If he's unmuting us, he should be able to do that rightly. Thank you. So I want to congratulate one for this brilliant kind of summit coming aboard, the first of its kind in Africa. We could see the synergy coming on board. And I'm happy for this coming on board at this time that we need to put ourselves together. I want to react to Mr. Fuad's comments. He has said it all concerning the issue of value addition. I think the area of social economy is that the cocoa sector needs to be incentivized. When you are talking of value addition, with those in charge, like the non-state actors, have the capability, financial-wise, to establish what you're talking about. So if cocoa sector is not incentivized, we'll go nowhere. That's the basic truth. The area in UK, there's an area that will be tax-free for whoever wants to come in. And what is in Nigeria, what is exactly the loan interest? We must just break this down. We believe that cocoa is a big, if we want to take it away from the Western people, it's not by speaking grammar here. The area of the policy need to be driving home holistically, honestly speaking. When I see it, I'm speaking with the passion to see that, look, we need to look at this and take over. I'm now telling the President Adeola for this coalition to move MRs and put things in the right perspective. So that's just my little comment. I will still make more after the next section in the age of resilience in the effect of climate change. Thank you.
You're welcome. We take the second from Mr. Roman Enen.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Mine also has to do with Mr. Abake's final submission. I really like the final, submission he made, especially with regards to the impact of these certification programs. How has it, impacted the lives of cocoa farmers? To be frank with you personally, I share the same concern with him that it hasn't added any, value to it, because it has just enlightened them. Because beyond the premium and these other these small margins that have been added, there are other activities that cocoa farmers could engage and get far better than these amounts that have been used as let's say motivation. So it is not to me motivative enough to just introduce premiums and other things, because to be frank with you, what farmers go through, the compliance, the cost in complying to these certification processes is far higher than how much they get. So in effect, we these programs tend to even make, to me, the way I view it, to even make farmers more poorer, because if the process of compliance is more expensive and higher than how much the person gains, then it is, I mean, it doesn't worth introducing it, but let's look at going forward, how to improve these, I mean, systems in order to make them farmer friendly. And one thing I also want to add is that let us not also overlook or, I mean, put a blind side or blind eye to the fact that there is a high land use competition in Ghana, high land use competition, which is also leading to loss of, I mean, cocoa farms almost every now and then. So if we do not put much into cocoa production, if you do not give much, motivation to cocoa farmers, what we see today might be worse tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Enen. Now, like I said, the time is not. Thank you for your contribution, both. So I will ask to our speaker to give like last word before closing of this panel, as we have to start the second.
Mr. Secretary, there's one question in that just came in.
Okay.
Chat.
Okay, what's the question?
From John, he said, I'm John Iwa from Cross River State, Nigeria. How can we
engage the government in cocoa production states to bring policies that will encourage production in Nigeria? So my suggestion is in 1 minute, each speaker will give answer to his from his background, and we will close the first panel and start the second. How the government, how can we engage the government in cocoa production states to bring policy that will encourage production? So globally, we could say how the government could bring policies that will encourage people to be farmers specialized in cocoa. So let us start with Mr. Ayobami.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's important that we think of the future of the cocoa itself in Africa, and especially by different countries anyway, which means there's need for a roadmap that the government can build that will help to incentivize the cocoa farmers, vis-a-vis creating infrastructures for them. And just like Mr. Abaka said, the cocoa farmers are more vulnerable today than the way they were in the past. And I think creating an incentive opportunities, creating infrastructures, road, education, healthcare that support their family, and also protect them against the hawks that are out there, who are very ready to buy the cocoa at any price, and making the farmers poorer. And also think that there are a lot of microcredit facilities that actually can be introduced by the governments in different countries. But much more overall, continentally, and more broadly, perhaps there might be also need to have a continental plan that the African Continental Free Trade can actually champion for cocoa farmers across the continent. That's my submission.
Okay. Thank you. Now, Mr. Ajayi.
Yeah, thank you, moderator. It's important to know that in Nigeria, the government has recently approved the National Cocoa Board. There's a memo going to FEC, the Federal Executive Council, and we have a bill for the establishment of the National Cocoa Board. It's all geared towards ensuring that smallholder farmers have increased and improved livelihood. The smallholder farmer is our target. I'm sure you are aware that in Nigeria, we have a deregulated sector. All the companies come in, they exploit our smallholder farmers, cut away the beans without adding much value to the smallholder farmers. They make a little margin, but with the present strengthening of the National Cocoa Management Committee, that we are hoping will become a National Cocoa Board in the next few months, we hope that all the major challenges being experienced by our smallholder farmers will be a thing of the past. And the state government too will be part of the board. Like the question that Mr. John asked, we are going to engage all the state governments. They are going to have the deputy governors as part of the board. And this will enable them contribute greatly to the cocoa sector in Nigeria through increased production and improved participation. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So now, Mr. Promise.
Yes, good evening again, gentlemen, ladies. I just wanted to add one thing to all what we have said, because all along we talk about cocoa production, but we are not looking at the waste, and the waste accounts for over 70 to 80% of cocoa production in the value chain. So I'm looking at the issue of where we can start to look how we can valorize the byproduct of cocoa, like what Prince just said, to transform the cocoa husk into cocoa tea that Health Farmers is presently doing, to transform cocoa pulps into cocoa juice and alcohol and other derivatives, and to see that we can, because when we do that, we will add value to the smallholder farmers and improve on their income level. And with that said, for the collaboration with the government, we know the government, African governments are doing a lot to improve on the smallholder farmers' life, but without much, I say there's a lot of bottlenecks, administrative bottlenecks. So this support does not trickle down to the smallholder farmers. Let me just give a small illustration for Cameroon, where there is there's this one-stop shop for cocoa farmers that the government has put in a lot of money for cocoa farmers to get inputs. But it will shock you to know that only the same Cameroonians come to give expired inputs to farmers, and that we have been decrying and we continue to decry, because the smallholder farmers have been left on their own, because the government is trying to do its best, but the bottleneck is really, really frustrating. So from my part, we just need to see that we harness our expertise and see how we can improve on the smallholder farmers' lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Promise. Now, Mr. Justin, we will close with Mr. Fuad. Yes.
Thank you very much. Greetings again to everybody. Yes, my take is very clear.
Hello.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Thank you. My take is very clear. Our governments are colonial institutions. They cannot and they will never move any farmer to anywhere. I'm into consultancy with GIZ, with many projects, the World Bank projects in Africa for 15 years. I know with certainty what I'm telling you guys. Any initiative powered by those institutions through our government has failed from the beginning. The way forward is for us, the farmers themselves, and I'm calling on COFAAA. Let's tap into the voluntary carbon credit market. Each cocoa plant is supposed to produce at least 15 tons of carbon from 0 to 30 years minimum. The price of these tons of carbon gives us enough revenue to re-inject into the cocoa sectors as COFAAA. I will recall in India, 400 laws were cancelled to allow the startups to grow. And I will recall one World Bank project saying that we are not going to invest any money into the Ministry of Agriculture of India. We are going to inject our money into the cooperative that collects milk from the rural farmers, and it's a single cooperative that will do all this operation throughout India. Why can't COFAAA say we want to collect and process our cocoa? It's high time we take everything into our hands. Why can't we get a database for all our cocoa farmers and connect them in the carbon market and start building our own factories and start producing cocoa for our own home consumption? So that is my take. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prince. Now, another perspective from Ghana, our neighbor, as I'm from Cote d'Ivoire. Mr. Fuad. Your microphone is, you're on mute.
Hello.
Yes.
All right. My last point will be on the power of collaboration. Okay. The challenges that the cocoa sector, especially from a producer country perspective, face are enormous, but not unsurmountable. And the only way we can defeat those challenges or flip those challenges into opportunities is when we strengthen our collaboration. Strengthen our collaboration as countries, strengthen our collaboration as business people, and strengthen our collaboration with all industry partners. We need to be visible as COFAAA, and I did mention this to Mr. President. We need to engage with stakeholders as we have started doing now. We need to double up on that. That is the only way that your value or our value will be appreciated. Then, most importantly, the point on value addition and then tied into upcycling. I think one of the last remarks made mention about the use of cocoa, what is termed as cocoa waste. We call it cocoa byproducts. The Ghana Cocoa Research Institute or Cocoa Research Institute of Ghana has a byproduct development unit. I remember somewhere in 2018 or so, visiting Lagos, I saw some very amazing products being done with cocoa byproducts. And Mr. President shared an image with me, I think in the CFAN office, with a display of cocoa products made locally. These are low-hanging fruits that farmers can take advantage of. So a farmer, beyond just the cocoa beans, can also make money from these byproducts. But it all stems from the skill development effort that we put in. Some can be coordinated by COFAAA, but then if you collaborate effectively with other key partners, that is when we can have a lot of partners or investment into these sectors, so that farmers' income sources will be diversified beyond cocoa beans. All the positive narrative that we talk about cocoa in West Africa is just about the beans. Let's move beyond the beans. And to do that, we need to build effective partnerships and then build the capabilities of farmers. With these things done properly, I believe that in the next 5-10 years, there will be a new narrative of the cocoa farmers in Africa. And lastly, targeting new markets. Our marketing structures have been, or our markets have marketing or export destination have been structured to be pro-EU or pro-Europe. There are huge emerging markets. There are huge markets in the Far East. India is a huge market. If you ask any chocolate company, where is their growth market? The growth market is neither in Europe nor in North America. It's in India or Asia, I would say. So let's build those alliances. And that is why I still make mention of the strong collaboration, so that we expand our market just beyond the traditional ones that we've been restricted to for decades. But thank you.
Thank you very much to our different speakers. We will give them some applause because it was so interesting, the different intervention. So I could say that we have initiative and institutions who are doing remarkable work on cocoa sector in our different countries. We could enhance these efforts with strategies that directly influence the level of our production according to our will
May
to
I
produce it, rather than depending of the whim of the climate. So thank you again, gentlemen. Uh, Without any further ado, we now turn to the second panel, resilience of cocoa farms against global warming. And thanks to God for this panel, we have a woman. So the first I will introduce is brilliant Dr. Renuka Thakore, based in UK, founder of Global Sustainable Futures, leads global partnerships for climate resilience and SDGs. And after, we have Mr. Nsidibe Etim. It is an engineer, founder of Animble, leveraging technology to streamline cross-border agricultural sourcing, enhance supply chain transparency, and drive global market efficiency. Is based in USA. Third is Nana Ruben, which is based in Ghana. Is the CEO and founder of Motivating the Farmer. And after we have Mr. James Oyesola, an expert in nature-based solutions from Nigeria, and Mr. Jacob Mwale from Zambia, which is the executive director of Zambian Commodities Exchange, Zamase. So the first question will be for Dr. Renuka. So Dr. Renuka, please tell us from your background and also your, I would say, your point of view, uh, how climate change or how the global warming affecting cocoa farming, particularly in our region in West Africa. What are the primary challenges farmers face in terms of weather patterns, disease, and pests?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, the president here and the whole COFAAA Alliance board members and group who has already, made all these efforts to bring everyone together. I was enlightened by the keynote speaker as well, and they have already touched to some of the aspects of climate change. So thank you very much. Of course, we know that Africa has a temperature higher than, like European countries and so on. And specifically, therefore, it impacts cocoa, which is a delicate crop, a very delicate crop, which thrives into very specific conditions. It needs 21 to 23 degrees centigrade. It also needs a lot of humidity and rich, well-drained, soil. And therefore, as the impacts of climate change increases, there would be rising temperature, erratic rainfall, there will be soil degradation, and increased pest infestations. And this all will impact yields, quality, and farmer income. And that is the main concern about climate change. It is projected that over 50% of current cocoa growing areas may no longer be suitable for this rising temperature and the water stress that would be in coming years by 2050. So it is very important for us to understand that situation, to look at our future pathways, that how we can become resilient to these all coming problems or these impacts. Because, longer drier seasons will spoil the crops, then how we have water availability, that is what we need to look. How we have our soils properly drained or properly, humid during our plantation and our crops that are growing. how we also have resilient, seeds or flowering and pod development that would definitely be like we would be in a proper position that we don't lose our crops. How we then address these pests or diseases that are going to come in play due to this high temperature. So these are the things that we need to look at and be prepared. And we can only be prepared if we know our current context. These are all what we have today are on very generic data, especially in Africa, because we have legacy of poor data. We do not know actual figures or actual situation that is going to impact each and every farms at place in the local condition. And therefore, data is very important. Systematic approach to this problem with the scientific outlook will be very important. We will have to have myths away from the minds of farmers. We will have to have scientific outlook, the education, the awareness with the farmers. And if farmers lack that skill, I don't doubt, but if they lack, the young people who are getting educated, the students, the coming force, should be friends with farmers, should dwell into this agricultural field to see how they can become friends with these farmers and how they can teach or learn both, learn and receive help and support them to develop such capacity to how we can form a climate smart agriculture approach, how we can bring these multi-stakeholders, universities, businesses, how we can bring these researchers and the community, farmer community in play. What also I understand from my, I'm not so much not a local African, or I'm not an African, but what I see from here at a distance, looking at many things in Africa going on, many farmers are without basic necessity. They are without electricity. They are without equipments, proper equipments. They are without, proper water management or, any facility that requires, or maybe insurance, or maybe policies, whatever you think, we are still not providing them, or these facilities does not exist. Even they exist, they are not in proper shape or in a proper form to support our farmers. And that is what we need to look at, how we can develop this infrastructure that can build into the climate resilience for cocoa farming. And that we can do it. There are several other things that can be easily input into such areas, such as agroforestry. Like we can, rotate or plant some shade trees along with cocoa crops, which can help regulate the temperature, retain moisture, and prevent soil erosion. And these trees are like banana, timber, which can bring cash to the farmers immediately, additional income immediately. But that should be very muchly thought about and systematically done. So these, like water harvesting, like mini grids, renewable energy, all these systems are available, like composting, waste management, covering crops, mulching. These all are available, known to the farmers, but not systematically delivered by the leaders or somewhere we are lacking. I don't know. Our system is lacking definitely. And therefore, equally, I think responsibly, every stakeholder has to understand that this is immediate need and we should be working together to make this possible. Finally, I would again stress the point of Justine, Prince Justine, who made about carbon credit. It is very true that carbon credit programs are getting more and more, visibility. They are proving to improve the, income. However, you should know that these carbon credit projects are based on a very robust methodology and should be, there could be some negative remarks on those where people have made mistakes. But in reality, they underpin the robust methodology to become more climate resilient and become more quality, environmental friendly and social friendly and so on. And it brings the big part of ESG in it. It allows traceability, transparency, and, trust in it. And therefore, we should be looking at such a goal that can have several objectives and fulfill our dream of becoming a climate resilient cocoa industry. I will stop here and I will continue whenever there is a question or remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Onuka, for this beautiful and holistic answer. Like we touch all the point we want to discuss. But you mentioned something related to agroforestry, and I want to emphasize this point because you know agroforestry is a new technique which come with cost, and our farmers who are poor, we are quite sure that our farmers can't finance this transition. So this also come with another uh, problem about the financing of the agricultural transition in order to have our crops more resilient to global warming. So I want to ask uh, to Mr. Jacob and Mr. James how they think the operationality of the transition, the agricultural transition, would take place with all these challenges we are facing in our countries.
Yeah, thank you. First and foremost, when you are talking of transition from where we believe there is going to be a paradigm shift, we look at so many aspects from an area of climate change. We should be looking a way of looking at having the mitigation to power adaptation.
Excuse me, Mr. James.
Yep.
We have difficulty to answer your to add your answer, please.
Can't get you.
Can you raise your voice a bit?
Okay,
yes,
my voice is okay. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm just saying that for transition, one of the strategy is us using mitigation to power adaptation. How do I mean using mitigation to power adaptation? In the area of value addition, we make use of the fossil fuel most of the time. If anyone is going to do some kind of vision, we must now looking at the nature aspect of it. When you look at the nature-based solution, EBA now, I'm not trying to condemn the general saying of the climate smart agriculture, which has no discrimination concerning what is even causing climate change. Like the Fed, they are indiscriminate about the use of fertilizer, but the fertilizer also will deplete the soil, which affect the soil structure and the forest structure. And so immediately there is a heavy rainfall, there'll be leaching. So there will be a paradigm shift from what we use as an input. If you can imagine that the soil, the carbon dioxide in the soil is greater than the one in the atmosphere. So if we are able to keep the carbon dioxide intact in the soil, the issue of releasing to the atmosphere, causing more damage, the ozone layer that are supposed to be healed will be minimized. So the transition now, we have to look at from kinds of transition to nature-based solution. That's the way to go. EBA, that is the way to go. Regenerative aspect of which we have to look at it holistically. Now, looking at that, we also told an area where people are talking of the use of carbon credit, which has to be another transmission to incentivize the cocoa farmers for an area of carbon farming. When you are talking of carbon farming, how do we go? That's another transition that incentivizes so that when they are now harvesting the carbon, they should be paid for under the voluntary carbon market. But I will tell you, most of the carbon market we are talking about is not being accepted under the voluntary carbon market, under the CDM, Clean Development Mechanism is what we call. Cocoa is not being accepted yet. The EUDR are not looking at that perspective. If you want to have a paradigm shift, you have to incentivize the paradigm shift to take place. But all these things are not being done. So, in essence, you have a transition concerning your question. We have to look at that perspective as well. The last one I will now look at is the technical know-how, the technicality of all things to put in place in terms of the adaptation. Like Dr. Unica said, the area of adaptation, water harvesting, irrigation, does the farmers have the capacity? Does they have the technical know-how? Is there any area the agricultural knowledge and information system is helping in this perspective? We need to start looking at this holistically if we want a transformation, and it has to start with the use of farmers. So to cap it all, the area of clean energy, there's the ecosystem-based adaptation food security assembly that I led in Nigeria for almost 8 years, a United Nations treaty. We look at bringing the curriculum of the area of climate change incentivized into the curriculum of the university. How many of our universities are looking at that perspective? Training the farmers or even those who are studying agriculture from day one have to start looking at the environmental sustainability in the event of climate change. So the policy angle need to, now there should be a policy cohesion between state and non-state actors. So when you look at this holistically, operationalization and at the same time, ground policy, it has to be in place. There should be a cohesion because the Ministry of, I will tell you the environmental aspect, they talk on their own, everybody's on silos. We need to break silos. Silos need to be broken. That is us. Championing everything with that. So you are talking about repeating transformation now. Those are now to break it down. You want to break silos among the champions. Standardization should come in. So in a nutshell, we just have to be serious about this issue and take the horn by the cow by the horn now, and make sure you are doing things holistically without having to be what is my own. You have to look at so many things in an angle that we're supposed to ask the farmers. I'll be ending this my speech in the behaviors of the farmers. I did a research on the agroforestry that Dr. Rika mentioned, asking them why with the good aspect of agroforestry, the resilience giving them more input, more income because they diversify their crops, why are they not adapting it? A lot of instances is being mentioned. We need to start looking at those angles, the behavioral nature of the farmers. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. James. So we want also to have the point of view and the answer of Mr. Jacob Mwale from Zambia.
Thank you very much. I'll try to be very brief. Speaking from the point of being a market facilitator, one of the things which we analyze when looking at these new markets is the return on investment. Carbon credits or any related new markets that can be made available to the farmers, what additional incomes are they going to bring, and what investment is required for them to unlock that? That brings in the return on investment. So the low-hanging fruits which we see, or the areas where we see cocoa farmers and other farmers who are carrying out various production of various commodities, is an area where they are already in that space, and we can take advantage of the existing investment either in agroforestry or related productions or activities on their farming states that can be monetized in terms of what qualifies for carbon credit exchange through an open market. And that's one area which I was speaking about, the visibility of what has been converted and is available to be marketed on the open market. I think a lot of the initial transactions and how the markets are dealt with was not so transparent and open, but there's been so much effort this time around. I think we're sitting
Jacob, we lose your voice.
a direction where people
it seems like the network of Mr.
Jacob, your voice is not clear.
So I concur with my speaker, James. There's need for skills, there's need for knowledge, and informing and training the farmers. More importantly, giving them the skills or the tools for them to make an informed decision to participate in this. I'm sorry, maybe my network is not clear. Maybe I pause there for now.
It seems like the network is not so good, but we get most of what he was explaining. So for Mr. NCDB, now I want to ask you, what are the the feasibility to combine, I will say, NBS, natural-based solution, Mr. James explained, as a key aspect for the transition, for the agricultural transition, how we could combine these MBS and the technology in order to improve the resilience of the cocoa facing not only the global warming, but the global warming and the effects of global warming onto the markets, I would say.
Thank you very much, Secretary, and thank you everyone for joining us today. And I believe that so far we have grabbed one or two things during this this webinar summit. So to answer your question, I think, and I believe this was mentioned earlier, we need to look into data. Right? We need to really look into the data. That is one of the key things that we are lacking as a region, Africa in cocoa. Let me give an example. Right. There are several things that happens around the cocoa value chain. You have the farmer, they're planning to farm. They need to know the weather. They need to know when to apply input. All these things are done for the most part in a way that they understand now. It's done, you have worked in it before. However, when there's a change, that change needs to be communicated right away. And that's where data comes in. For example, if you know a place that they can store data over, okay, these are some of the diseases that affected some crops, a couple of years ago. And when that disease maybe reoccurs, you can easily access that data and be able to know what solution was put in place to resolve it. That's one. Number two is being able to, we hear about traceability every now and then. Traceability is very important in a sense that not only does it help the farmers be able to understand what they have. For example, how many trees do you have? How many cocoa plots do you have? Those things helps you know how you can even plan to sell your cocoa. So if you don't have these numbers, then you're just basing your sales or your production based on your own just your own assumptions at that point. It's just assuming things. But when you have data to know, okay, if this farm plot, I'm going to produce this certain amount of cocoa. This is how much I'm going to be able to command out of it. Then you can better know how to structure your plan for being able to get buyers to work with you, inform them on when they can come and participate and buy your cocoa. The thing is that this idea is not about I say this a lot, it's not about pushing a lot of resource constraint on the farmer level. It's about empowering them. And I'll tell you the reason. Today data about cocoa or farmers are spread across different multinationals, different nations. I don't believe Africa really has as much data as the European nations on cocoa in terms of the farmers that they have cocoa production. I don't believe so. I believe now it's time for us to begin to look at these things. How can we know all our farmers truly, not just by research that an NGO came by and put a research for maybe 5 years ago and gave us that number and we go by that for the next 10 years. We need to know our numbers. If a buyer comes to Ghana, they need to know, or Nigeria, how many farmers do you have? That data needs to be in place, and because things are changing. And if you don't begin to do things in a way that these nations will even look at us and say, oh, Africa, they're beginning to know their stuff now. If I need data on farmers, if I need data on cocoa production, I don't have to go back and look at my research 5 years ago. I can go and ask them, give me this data, and they can give me real-time data because they are the farmers, they know them, they have worked with them. So data is very important, not just for us to comply, but for us to be able to meet with the farmers' demands, empower them, and help them command better premium. And I'll stop there for now, and we'll talk more on it and how we can elevate the farmers using technology and helping them be more sustainable and add more value to what they have already. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ntilibe. It's really, really interesting what all the speakers are explaining to us. And so I want, as the time is running, to give an open question to all of you related to the financing and also the governance that we would set up in order to support the initiative which are involved to enhance the resilience of cocoa resilience, but not only cocoa, like all our strategic crops for our different economy or our agricultural crops. So what could be the part of the governance, the support of the government, and also the initiative for financing the transition and the resilience at a large scale of the sector, of the agricultural sector, with, let us say, not only cocoa. So let us start with Mr. James, but as the time is running, please try to be efficacious in your answer, please.
Yeah, thank you. My take is that policy greatest driver of change. Policy is the greater driver of change. For us to have the green transition, the policy in Africa concerning the issue of all our value chains change. That is area we have both comparative and competitive advantage. We should make use of it, changing the policy and making a kind of cohesion with all the agencies so that we have an holistic kind of policy that will drive all these changes. If there's policy in Nigeria or Ghana or in Ivory Coast, an harmonized one, that a product, because when you are now trying to produce a crop using the one that will still affect and add to the effect of climate change, we still add back to it. So there should be a policy change. That is my thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. James. Now, Mr. Jacob, then Mr. Nsidibe, and we finish with Dr. Oluka.
Thank you very much. I hope I'm audible. I'll just speak on 3 items which are listed in terms of submission around the question. Very much aligned with my previous speaker, James. We see carbon markets providing some financial incentives for sustainable cocoa farming. If you can tap into those markets, we see a potential for earnings from the carbon market extraction or sequestration. But critically, as summing it up all, policy support in carbon credit markets will be very critical, and as well as integrating cocoa farmers into carbon trading markets. I thank you.
Okay, well done. Thank you, Mr. Jacob. This is also interesting. Now, Mr. Nsidibe, for you, how we could support the resilience and the transition from governance and financing.
Yeah, I think it would take about partnership with the public and private sector. We need to work together. Although we don't do a lot of that today, so we need to partner together. We need to learn about what each other needs are. This public sector, they need they need help. They need to be able to to get to some of these farmers. So all what we do is to enable that process to be more efficient, right? How can we bring them together to communicate more? Because when there's communication like we have today, we understand each other's needs and we know where to start to bring in help. In terms of financing, many farmers, I keep hearing farmers need help with financing. And I also hear that there's a lot of capital deployed already to help these farmers. But where this money going to? Right? If there are millions of dollars that are financing farmers, in the cocoa sector, so that means that there's a misalignment between what is happening on this origin. So we need to discuss why are some of these resources not being trickled down to the farm level, but we are hearing some of them being deployed, but we're not seeing the real benefits. So we need to discuss and get to the root of it. How can we make it better? How can we make it more transparent? For example, if a farmer needs for financing, how can we make that financing very easy for them to access? You don't have to, farmer will not have access to bank records, to all those things that is required as an exporter. They just need money to get input. How can we make that more efficient for them instead of them us requiring them to do more work, bring more paperwork? Just make it as simple as, oh, I need some input. Can I come and get some input in a way that will create value, not just for the finance company, but also for the farmer that needs help financing their farm efforts. So I'll stop there for now. It's just conclusion is collaboration and also listening and working together and to get a common reach a common goal.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nsidibe. So a common goal reached through collaboration and communication. Now, Dr. Renuka.
Thank you so much. I echo the words of Nasid B. Atil. Partnership, 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 and the sharing economy. We have
Dr.
to bring.
You are connected with two devices because there is echo when you are talking.
No. Someone, maybe someone has put there. Maybe we can mute others. It's not me. Okay. So I would echo that partnership, and partnership, but also partnership with several dimensions of sustainability: technology, social, environmental, cultural, everything. All the stakeholders should have just one aim, and their objectives can be several, but with the digitalization, with the common platforms that we create, we can bring everyone together. You have seen all these social media, how they have progressed, how they have brought people together. And we have to bring that social media into play, digitalization into play. We have to bring finance and the receivers to the same ground so that they can exchange their ideas. We have to bring all the stakeholders throughout the supply chain for the traceability, for the transparency, and for the trust to be maintained between them. And if that is possible with only the online, virtual, and also the physical, all these platforms need to be empowered by data and education, proper education about all these things, and stem down to the each and every one. Here, woman empowerment, youth empowerment, and digital empowerment. These three can be the pillars for us to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Renuka. As I said, time is running. So unfortunately for the participants, we can't now let you ask a question, but you could reach directly the different farmers. They leave the contact email into the chat. So no problem. You could reach them, or you could reach myself or directly the COFAAA, and we'll try to give you answer to what you want to know. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So now we arrive at the end of this panel. I could make a resume of the different stuff we discussed.
Hello, Secretary.
Yes.
You didn't allow Nana to speak.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. As I didn't, Mr. Nana?
Yes, Secretary. I think
as the all leaders have the video in front of my face, and so the one of Nana. Sorry, Nana.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So let me say good evening to everyone, and I'm also very excited. We have gotten some good insights, some good points, and because time is shining out, don't worry too much for me to speak. I think I will only say two things to add up to what the speakers have said from Ghana, from Nigeria, from Cote d'Ivoire. And for me, I think the very key important thing we should look at is value addition, not to the cocoa product or the beans, but value addition to the land. So that, we shouldn't just do value addition on the beans. That's my point. We should also now start thinking about how can we do value addition to the land itself. How can we use a small land to get the yields we want? Is there a possibility of expanding? If yes,
What is the strategy? Is there new innovations to introduce to farmers to make them get yields like machine? If possible, we should look at these two things. So then the final thing I would say is there should be review of cocoa production policy. If I say cocoa production, I mean cocoa farming policy. I think that the policies, as previous speakers have all agreed to, are caked, they are expired, they are not helping this generation. And so that is why farmers are putting in their all, but they are not making any good returns. And so can this be a continental move, or maybe Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria should start this initiative of changing the policies that we are using in farming? And then finally, we should look at helping farmers have access to basic things, as Dr. Ruka said: water, roads, electricity, internet. You cannot have these conversations with a farmer, especially in some parts of Ghana, because there's no internet. And as I speak myself where I am today, if I turn my video on, you wouldn't hear me. So I have to do it by voice because the internet situation is very bad here. So these are for me, the key points I also want us to take away as we wrap up this conversation. Thank you very much, Secretary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nana. My neighbor. So on these brilliant words of Nana, my neighbor from Ghana, I will let the president come to close this first online webinar of COFAAA. And I've been pleased to be your servant during these 2 last hours. It's not easy. Sorry if I made some mistakes. I'm a French speaker, so for the English, I'm so sorry, but I do my best, and I hope and add some things, excuse me, to what they known before the starting of this webinar. So, Mr. President, the mic is to you now.
Yeah. Thank you very much for a very wonderful moderations. I think this is we can't have it less, and I must appreciate you, Nabuyola Duso, General Secretary of COFAAA, for doing a very wonderful job for the cocoa industry in Africa, and particularly the cocoa farmers of Africa. I must appreciate my sister, Taiwia Gako, representing His Excellency Alex Asafo for Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Cocoa Initiative. Thank you for your words of wisdom, for your presentations, for your keynote address that is well laced with a lot of things that we need to work in. And let me appreciate the board member participation, the speakers. I remember a lot of people, Mr. Tobaba, Oyeshola, Mr. Jacob, Justin, Dr. Enuka, Dr. Oyedare, Nana, Epi, Promise. I've seen a lot of people who are actually even at the background who participated in this. I can see Dr. Awolumata, a lot of people from different countries around not only Africa, beyond Africa. I've seen a lot of people who believe that Africa deserves more, who believe that our farmers deserve more. I can definitely assure you that COFAAA definitely we continue to play our own part of collaborating with every cocoa institutions, every cocoa countries, governments, and I can assure you that we are going to always be on the path of progress. Whatever contributions you must have made, I can tell you that we have taken note. It is already recorded. We are definitely going to continue to work on it and make sure we collaborate with Alex-led institutions and the ICCO, the World Cocoa Foundation, and a whole lot of partners across both the Ghana Cocoa Board, the Kose Cacao in Cote d'Ivoire, the coffee cocoa in Cameroon, and a whole lot in Nigeria, the MCMC, and we have seen what Ajayi has talked about, what Nigeria is also doing. And I can assure you that we will continue to provide the expected leadership. All the board team at COFAAA, everybody, we must collaborate. COFAAA is for all of us. And I can assure you that we will be transparent in our leading. We will continue to initiate this kind of discussions that will definitely grow our cocoa in Africa along sustainability. And like I said in my speech, which align with what our tower has just said, and a whole lot of speakers at this event, is that we need to grow, to incentivize the sector and increase our productions, and we increase our value addition, the processing, and even get a kind of premium and make sure that Africa as a better, as also said, is about creating new markets. He mentioned these are areas that we need to work on. But let me just thank you, because there is need for some of our people to break their fast, and for other people to attend to other things. I thank you very much. I am very much delighted to have you around, and I can assure you that we will definitely continue to make sure that we support every good cause that will protect the interests of our farmers and create a one voice, one vision through COFAAA that will establish and create a better enabling environment, a cocoa ecosystem that guarantees a prosperity of our cocoa farmers. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, as I declare closing this webinar. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
I don't more of it.
Thank you. And bye-bye to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for the whole insight and info. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the host. Thank you.
Thank you.